Hello and welcome back to New Forest Morphs. Jad and I are discussing the practical sides of treating RI, respiratory infections, or shall I say RTI, respiratory tract infection is the correct term. So in part one we went through and did a little bit of background to the causes of what causes RI and what causes the issues underlying that. So just to recap, the most important thing is that it's heat plus humidity plus stagnant air that causes the breeding ground for RI.
And that's incorrect humidity, incorrect heat, and stagnant air.
Yeah.
Because you want humidity and you want heat.
Yeah, but if you have the correct heat and the correct humidity, Jad, and you have stagnant air, you still can have issues.
Potentially, yeah.
So it's not a question of having two right. All three have got to be on point.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you for raising that, Jad.
Yeah.
Just to clarify that, I do appreciate that. And we went over and we explained all the bad chemicals and elements that build if you don't have clean air coming in and out. Now, I've only had a couple of seconds break here, Jared, but we decided to open up the windows, and Jared was getting quite hot in here because we've got a good ambient temperature, which is perfect because when you're going to be doing a demonstration, which Jared is, on how to mist and use veterinary advice here on how to treat a snake with RI using I keep forgetting, a reptile fogger, and we're going to make some recommendations at the end of this film as to the choices that you've got and what you can look at. And I've done a lot of research and found what I believe to be the most cost-effective, well-priced item out there that we can buy for the money. And obviously everyone's got to make their own decision, but this is one that I picked up, which I'll show you in a second. But let's just get back to the cause, and then we'll look at the remedies and the possible treatments. So you get that unpleasant smell in your room or facility. That tells me that there's air stagnant in the area. Now, when we built this facility, our electrician I asked him to put in, you know, the bathroom, Jared, where you have like a bathroom extractor fan. So the idea was, and I was told by a top breeder, that you have one at the entrance of your facility, which is basically drawing in fresh air, and then one at the end, which is extracting the stale air. And you have the fans rotating around, so it's pushing fresh air this way, and then the extractor fan is pulling out the stale air, and you've got a constant flow of fresh air. Now, there are some issues with that because you don't want the facilities to get too cold, because cold, wet conditions can cause RI as well. So it's not a question of saying, oh, that's going to fix all problems. It's actually going to be a question of saying that a combination and balance of three elements: humidity, temperature and airflow. So it's fine-tuning everything. And it's like my juggling act. You know, I'm good at juggling three balls. It's very much like that, actually. You've got to learn how to juggle those three balls and make sure you don't drop any one of them, because if you drop one, you've got the two balls that might seem easy for you to juggle, but it's going to have potentially catastrophic events. So learning how to juggle the three balls, I'll call that the three royal balls. I think Rob might like that one, but it's juggling those balls and getting it right. So let's have a look at the possible ways of improving ventilation. Now, Jared mentioned increased airflow, and we've just opened up the windows. Very simple. Open the windows, Jared's open up the door. We're going to lose a little bit of our ambient temperature, but if we do it while we're in here, there's an opportunity for fresh air to come in straight away, and you can't beat fresh air. And we live in the New Forest, so the air isn't particularly good. If you're living in an area where it's bad pollutants, then you're going to need an air purifier. And we've already got that one over there, so that can help solve that one. Fans, Jared, why did we put two fans in here?
Circulation.
Air circulation. Air purifiers we've covered, and there's a whole video on an air purification that we've put out on our Care 2 series. Have a look at that, 200 quid, and it can solve a lot of problems. Then you've got a larger rubs and smaller rubs for smaller animals, but you've got to make sure that the rub size is or your enclosure size is correct, because you need air circulation. If you've got a big animal sat in a small space, it's begging problems. If you've got a big animal, and as it grows, we've got to learn to get the right size rubs and make sure that as prior planning and preparation prevents poor performance. Don't wait for an issue to hit us. What you do is you look forward and say, right, this animal is packing on weight, it's time to lift that animal into a bigger rub. And you've got to spend time, money and investment. Now, I know a breeder that was on a budget and he didn't have the money to buy these big expensive rub systems. So do you know what he did, Jared? He cut two 33 litre rubs. He had loads of them, and he actually cut them in half, and then he put them together again and created a much bigger enclosure for his big snakes as they're getting bigger. I thought, God, that's very improvising. He even he did homemade racking, and he built his racks out to accommodate the snake size. And I thought that was really clever. A lot of hard work, but the other option you've got is I think there's plenty of people out there that can supply bigger systems for reasonable money, and I think one of them is Herb Exotics do them, don't they, Jared, for good prices. So have a look at them, see if that helps. Windows and fans and vents, we've spoken about that one, and also we spoke about putting holes and perforations in there, front and back. I think, yes, so we've got to be careful that we don't make it too cool that you chill your ball python, and that can cause a problem. So it's getting that balance right between the three. So hopefully that was helpful. Now we're going to move on to the different types of foggers or humidifiers in there. Now let's just explain to our viewers what happened, because we had a problem with the snake that we brought in to our to our quarantine area. And the vet, Jared, what was the vet's advice when we phoned up the vet and got hold of the vet? What was the first advice they gave us?
The first thing they said was to bring it in for them to have a look at.
Yeah, so we took the snake in for a appraisal, diagnostics, and then she recommended, what did she recommend? Antibiotics. So we did an antibiotics course for, I think it was 3 weeks, and it didn't seem to be, it improved a little bit, didn't it? It didn't seem to be making such a great impact that we were hoping for. There was some improvement, and so she said, look, let's do a swab test. So we did a swab test. It cost us quite a lot of money to do a swab test, didn't it? Can you remember? It was like 150 quid, so it's not cheap. The antibiotics, actually, I was surprised how cheap they were, because it's like £10 for a shot. So if you got 3 shots, 4 shots, and we're going to have a separate day on antibiotics and what we've experienced and see how to go about that. But we'll come back to that later. But all I'm saying is I'm just sharing our journey with you. And then they said, you want to get what was it they asked us to do, Jared?
So after we tried the antibiotics, is it called a
ventilator, was it? Or was it called nebulizer?
Nebulizer.
They asked us
they said, if that's not working, give them a break from the antibiotics and get yourself a nebulizer, put some diluted F10 in it, and leave them in there for 20 minutes so that they can breathe in the fumes. Okay,
so I think what that does, Jan, let's do the practical demo, and then at the end I'll give you a recommendation. We're going to actually invest and spend about $100 in getting something even better, which I'll share with you later. But this is a make-do measure, really. So, thank you, Jared. I'll take the camera. You can show us the demo.
Sure.
So you can see we've got quite a large.
So it's a big girl.
Yeah. It's a large rub, isn't it?
So what we do is they said make a chamber where the snake can go in and breathe in all the fog and can't escape, and the fog can't escape.
Yeah.
So this right here is the nebulizer. Now this is, I think Mum went out to get this one.
I think she's from the chemist, didn't she?
From the chemist, yeah.
Is it used for humans more than anyone else?
It is. This is used for humans. This one.
So is it like you'd use it if you got asthma or something, or?
Yeah, I don't know why people would use it, as in what reasons, but.
Okay, let's see the make of it, Jab. What do we go for?
It's just the one they had available. It's called Omron.
Okay.
And what it does is it has this tube that pumps some sort of oxygen or some sort of air into here.
Yeah.
And if you look closely, it's got those measurements on the side, minimum and maximum.
Trying to see, where are they, Jad? Let me zoom in on it.
You have to tap the screen and
wait. It's working. Yeah, I'm zoomed in on it. Max and minimum.
Okay.
Are you gonna? So what level of water do you put in there?
So I fill up to the max. It's the little line at the top.
Okay. And what do you don't just put water in there, do you?
No. So here is our diluted mix of water and F10.
Right.
And I don't remember what the dilution was, but it's on the back of the F10 bottle. So have a look.
Yeah.
So the first things first, we have adapted the rub.
So the F10 is the
cleaning solution.
It's a type of reptile-friendly what do you call it? It's a antiseptic. Is it not? Is it antiseptic or what do you call it? Have you got the bottle there, Jack? Let's just have a quick look at it. What do they call it?
Disinfectant.
Disinfectant, not antibiotics. Sorry, I'm talking about disinfectant. Dyslexia coming in again.
Okay.
Show us what you're doing.
So what we've done is we wanted to make this this rub as safe for the animal as possible while still getting the air in there. So the first way we did it is we had another little container inside of here with holes in it, and then we put this on the side and we allowed it to pump in. But we found that the animal wasn't getting as much as it should be getting by doing that. So we made an adjustment, and if you look here, I've drilled a hole in the rub.
Let's have a look.
Just in there.
Yeah.
Which allows me to stick that part of the nebulizer through, and then that on top. So now the only thing that's in this rub is the nozzle.
Right.
And then to make it more safe for the animal, we've got this little cage. It's just a pen pot, and we just cover it up. And we find that by doing that, the snake doesn't have any harm, and the rub gets full of the vapours, so it treats the animal well.
Let's see what you're doing from the outside. So this is really looking at it from a different angle. Right, okay. Yep, that makes sense. And explain how it works, Jazz. So what does that little machine do? Does it actually pump air down that... What's being pumped down that tube?
It's just air.
So it's creating an airflow?
It's a bit like an air pump from a fish tank.
Like an air pump from a fish tank, okay.
And what this does, if I show you the actual machine, so this is the main part of the nebulizer.
Yeah.
And inside you've got this nozzle.
Can I have it?
The air comes out of that nozzle, that cone.
Right.
And it sort of creates with the water, it mixes with the F10 and water and creates some vapours.
Yeah.
That get sucked up through here.
Can I see? Show me the... Right, so they go through there. And what does that do? Does that convert it into steam?
Vapours.
Vapours, right.
It's a bit like this thing here.
Okay.
Which is
so
like it makes things smell.
Many months ago, when we had some smells in this facility, Jared went out and bought this thing. What is that, Jared?
It's a diffuser. So we put some natural oils in there that made it smell nicer.
Yeah.
We don't really use it anymore, but
no need to, because now we've got the air purifier, and we also don't need it. But we did need it before we had the air purifier.
For sure.
You know, it was, and also we've learned that we've got to get those rats out. We can't leave them in the bin.
yeah, if you've got rats, get them out as soon as possible.
They're the worst smellers that you can believe, and ugh.
So the actual treatment side of things, we'll put this back in here. Okay.
But show me how you top up the water, Jared, and what you do there. And
so what I do is I just hook it on the edge.
it's very small, actually. You don't put much in there. The temptation is to fill it right up, but you mustn't.
You don't want it to go over that cone,
So there's a little cone line down. I'll show you.
because it will stop the oxygen from coming in, and the water will end up coming down the actual tube, and it'll be a problem.
Well, you can actually break your unit if you're not careful. So, Jared, let's see what you're doing
Just
here.
pour a tiny bit in.
So it's only a little bit. It's amazing. How long would that last, that little bit?
That lasts about 20 minutes.
Okay, let's see what the water level you've gone to. The cone, that little plastic cone in the middle, needs air. So if you put your water level goes above that, the whole thing doesn't work and you won't be able to create the mist. So it's important to keep your water levels below that cone level, isn't it? Yeah,
just follow on the side, it has a max. I'm sure on other foggers as well it does the same thing.
Okay.
Then you clip it back on.
So that just clips on. Is that pretty safe? It's not
that's
going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. It's
and the snake going in there is not going to...
The snake won't be able to knock that off. And we just, extra precaution, got this little metal cage. It's all smooth, there's no rough edges on it.
Yeah. So you're always thinking about the snake's welfare.
Always.
And why do you put bedding in there as well?
Just for comfort. You don't have to, but also if you've got a sick snake, or if you have multiple sick snakes, you don't want to be spreading that amongst the other snakes as well. So you can just take this, take it out, give it a clean, done.
So actually,
but we just have it in there to keep our girl comfortable.
That's a good point, actually. So if you do have several snakes that need treating, you have to change the bedding. You have to spray down the whole rug.
Disinfect everything. Anything they've touched, disinfect every time.
Right, okay. Yeah. Fine.
Okay.
Now notice you've got here, Jared, what's this at the back? Is that for ventilation? Because you've got to make sure it's ventilated. You don't want to be building up lots of mist so that they get saturated. Because there's
So you don't want it to be too ventilated. You want it to be able to
balanced.
Balanced.
Because I have noticed on the forums that some people are saying that this can cause RA.
Really?
Rather than cure it, it can cause it if you get your mist levels wrong. So it's important to get a mist control that you can dial it up and dial it down. So there's more mist or less mist.
Okay.
That's why we're moving away from this. To be honest, this is supposed to be a short-term measure.
Yeah.
But we need something as a long-term solution, so that if we do get any problems in the future, we can treat them.
Cool.
Exactly, and I'll go through that in a second. But so far, Joe, it's all looking good.
So then what you do, you put this. So the actual reason I had this before is because we needed the wire to go in there the way we had it.
So that's not to do with ventilation. That was just the original model you had. Was you had that going in there.
With rubs, there is a little gap at the top. It's not airtight, so it gives enough ventilation anyway.
So what happens if you get a small snake with an issue? Because that's obviously designed for the big snakes.
Yeah, it was still.
What would you do with a small snake? Would you still put a small snake in that space?
Yeah, I put a small one in there.
Right.
Any snake can go in there, really. Biggest to smallest.
Okay.
That'll be fine. You
Yeah.
can have another little tub inside with holes, but if you want them to have the full blast of the vaporizer, this is the one.
Okay.
So then what you do is you close the lid, and ball pythons are notorious for escaping.
Yeah.
Little Houdinis. So always clip up the sides so it's tight.
And never leave it unattended.
Nah, always make sure you're there. If you're in a room that's cold, like you're just in a room in the house, have it on a heat mat, so that they're always getting belly heat from it.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a room that's warm, 80 degrees or so, you can just leave it in the ambient room.
Will they be okay? Is it 20 minutes?
20 minutes, that'll be fine.
Will they be okay in 20 minutes as long as it's 80 degrees in the ambient temperature?
As long as it's warm. Like if they get cold, obviously it's a problem because they're cold and there's fumes going in there as well. It's stressing them out, could cause an RI.
What happens if a snake freaks out and gets so stressful? And because obviously stress leads to these conditions.
Yeah.
What judgment call would you make if you end up with a snake that just does
If it's
not
stressing
having
that too much, don't do it and find another option from the vet. Talk to the vet.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's something else out there.
So this method may not work for every snake. You've got to know the character of the snake and know what it can and can't tolerate.
Yeah.
You don't want to be adding to its problems, and this is where judgment calls come in, and that's part of the interest of my hobby. Really, is making all these judgment calls. I like to be able to make those judgment calls.
Nice.
So yeah.
Right, so once that's all in, once the snake's in there, you've got the water and the F10 solution filled up.
Yeah.
Plug it in the wall.
Yep.
Simple switch here.
So it's just an on-off switch. It's a very basic.
This is a basic one.
Yeah. Okay. Fair play. And what's that other thing there? What's this?
That sucks the air in.
That sucks the air in.
Yeah, it's a bit like an air pump. So it has something that sucks it in and then shoots it out there.
Okay. Yep.
So you click that.
Yep.
Now what you'll notice, it's quite noisy. But if you look in there, you see that vapour coming out?
Oh yeah. Let's see if I can.
I'll put that
I
there.
can't see much vapour, Jack. Little. Oh no, I can see it now. Leave the cage on there. That looks better now. There's a little bit of vapour there, not a lot.
Yeah, so it's not a ton of vapour.
You don't want to overdo it, do you?
No, it allows 20 minutes of that and fill up this rub. So you put the lid back on.
Right, just let it build.
So within 20 minutes, this will be like a foggy day in London.
Right. Okay.
And then after 20 minutes, turn it off. Take the snake out. Put the snake back. Clean this out, and you're ready for next time.
Thank you very much, Chad. Very good.
Yeah, it's quite easy to do. Quite simple.
Yep.
Just got to make sure it's done right.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. If you're worried about a snake, you're not sure it's got RI, would you put the snake in there as preventative medicine and give it a mist or not? And what's your views on that one?
I think I'd get it diagnosed from a doctor first. I mean, I'm sure this can't harm a snake, so if you did want to do that, you could.
But let's say we use that, you know, Emily's trick of opening up a snake's mouth with a credit card, a clean credit card, I'd say.
Yeah,
if we did an inspection on all our snakes and actually used a credit card and we saw any potential build up early, say we catch it really early, would you consider doing this?
I'd consider it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd call up a vet and let them know.
Call up a vet first.
I'd say this is what we've got. Is it worth giving them some preventative treatment and get it checked?
Because I think that preventative treatment's better. If you can catch it early, they can heal within a week. I'm guessing that it can be a lot easier. If you catch it late, you can end up with some of the people out there are having 3 or 4 month treatments.
Yeah.
And some of them don't make it. A lot of them actually go. So it's really important to get this right, isn't it? And to get it early. So we're going to put our thinking caps on as a father and son partnership here as to what we're going to adopt, and we're going to carry on doing our research because it's so very important to do it. So let's have a look at the vessel, Jad. So now when you've finished,
usually that will be gone after 20
so there's
minutes.
a little bit of, it's like a Guinness head, isn't it? It's all right. Okay. Well, thank you.
So after 20 minutes that will be gone, but for this we'll just chuck it.
So you have to replace that every time you do this. You have to clean, replace, and put in another shot, if you like, for Tina's benefit. Yeah, just one shot, not a double, she's not pulling 2 shots. But Jared, thank you very much. So if anyone's got any questions on this setup, please put some comments in there. Thank you, Jared, for demonstrating that.
That's all right.
We're learning. This is our first time, so this is something we're learning what to do. But obviously, it's another technique in our fight against this RI. So thank you for that. What we'll do, Jared, is we'll put that to one side, and I just want to finish up by, well, I suppose I can do the review myself. Let's just let Jared do that. This is what I'm recommending for us anyway. Whether you want to look into it or not, unfortunately, you've got to import them from the US. The Amazon UK don't have this. But this is the system I'm thinking of investing in, and it's called a what's it called? It's called a Pets Pioneer Reptile Humidifier. It's got a digital timer fog machine with double hose, so you can have it going into more than one rub system. It's got a 4-litre reservoir, so you can see it's pouring the water in the top, and it's got these holes in the top, which apparently some of these humidifiers you've got to take the base apart, and it's really awkward. So they've adapted it so that you just pour the water in the top.
Do you know what these are mainly used for?
They're mainly used for frogs and things that need... Yeah.
Comedians that need a lot of high humidity.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you could
use it for this though.
I'm saying, look at the controls, Jad. You can actually adjust the amount of mist that's being pumped out. It's got lots of settings. It's touch control. For $67, I think that's a good deal. It's on a discount at the moment. Now you're going to have to pay shipping of about 25. So it's going to cost you $100. Let's say 80 to 90 quid. But I'll tell you one thing, it could save you a lot of veterinary fees if you get problems. I think that's a really good investment personally. I'm going to go for it, Jad. I want you to place an order for that, please.
Sure.
That's what we're going to go for. Have a look at all the advantages in there. Lots and lots of advantages. So thank you so much, everyone, for all your feedback. I'll pass back to Jared and just make sure there's nothing else that we want to cover before we close up. Oh yeah, there's a video. If you want to see this recommended setup, there's a video that I can recommend, and the guy's called, he does a product review, and it's called EX2 Exotics. So thank you, EX2 Exotics. Type in EX2 Exotics on your YouTube search engine, and then if you go to and type in Pets Pioneer Digital Timer Humidifier, you'll get that review, and he does a really good demo, Jared. I want you to have a look at that as well.
I'll give it a watch.
But he's really thorough. He's done so much research. So this is where the internet's lovely, because instead of us doing all the work, we can draw upon other people's work and make a judgment call. And I'm impressed, and I'm impressed enough that I'm going to give it a shot. So just to recap, this has a top fill system 4-litre reservoir system. It's apparently easy to use, and it is foolproof. And it has the reason why I say it's foolproof, Jared, is that people make the mistake of just letting their humidifiers run dry, and it can break their humidifiers. But what they have, an automatic switch off facility built in, so if the water runs out, you don't kill the engine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think I like that. It's got a digital timer. It can have a stop start, stop start, stop start. You can put it on a timer. So most frogs and now reptiles, they like their humidity mist in the evenings. Now a lot of people make the mistake is that they put them on during the day, and it's not natural, because most of the mist occurs in the morning and night time. And it looks very nice when you look at your frogs and you look at your vivarium and you see that lovely mist coming in.
It's that dry ice effect, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks great, but it isn't necessarily the best thing for the snake. And I always say go for what's best for the snake. Don't be vain like me with my beautiful marine tank and being vain with a big angelfish in there that basically tipped the balance of me. It has a sleep mode, it has flexible holders, single or multi, and it has a low water shut-off system. And it prevents damage if it does run out, Jad, as I say. So have a look at the video. I don't think there's anything else that we can look at here. Yeah, one other question is, Jad, from yesterday. Back to how long can a snake hold its breath? Any ideas?
You said yesterday.
I thought it was 5 minutes, but according to my research, they can go beyond 10. Some of them.
Yeah.
It depends on how stressed. If they're really stressed, they won't hold their breath for 10. If they're in a calm state, a snake, because a lot of snakes dive underwater to get their food. If you look at brine anacondas, they feed on fish, so they've got to be. I mean, they're scuba divers. It's amazing. Some of these snakes are scuba divers. Now, ball pythons, I don't think are the same as that. So you wouldn't leave it in a bath unattended because they can drown.
They would go underwater though.
They can go underwater, but they can hold their breath. It's very clever, isn't it? So when you're using this system, the reason we recommend, or the vets recommend 20 minutes is because you could get a snake going in there for 10 minutes and nothing's happening. Yeah? So the whole point of this is that it's the F10, which is the cleansing agent. You're giving the mist a chance to gently layer the track going down to the lung. It's breathing that in, and it's going to kill the bacteria that's sitting on the track, in the mouth, in the track, and in the lung. So what you're doing is you're gently treating it, and that's why small and often is better than hitting it hard. Okay? And you're gently, it's a bit like us with a mouthwash really. You know, you kind of need a mouthwash from time to time to avoid bacteria building up in us. But we we gurgle antiseptic wash, don't we? And then we feel a lot better afterwards because it kind of kills the germs that's in our mouth. And of course, if those germs are left to go, it can cause some major issues. You can lose teeth, people can die from tooth infections. And so we can draw upon our human knowledge to realise that from a snake's perspective, if you do nothing about it, it will die. So this is why this video is so important, if you really love and care, and we all do, about our animals. So, it's important to have airflow in the rub, keep an eye on it, have some heating. So don't do this in cold temperatures, Jad, because that could actually be detrimental to the snake. Change the size of the rub according to the size of the snake you're treating. That's important. Right, I think that is it for today. So, thank you very much. We're going to send us lots of love to you guys. Keep those comments coming. Put your thumbs up. Please subscribe. We're getting close to 400 subscribers. We're on 480 something. I can't remember. 380 something. 300. I'm getting ahead of myself. We want to hit 400, and when we hit 400, we're going to have another competition. So, share with your friends. Come on, let's bust through that 400, and let's do it together. And I leave that with you, and we'll catch you tomorrow.